very interesting and very graphic and very educational. So I thought of sharing this particular verse with all of you. Okay, let's begin with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, verse 28, chapter 28, verse 28. It goes as follows. Tam eva manasa grinani bhavuva pramadottama anantaram vidarbhasya rajasimhasya vishmani. Translation: King Puranjana gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently, in his next life, he became a very beautiful and well-situated woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in the very house of the king. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Since King Puranjana thought of his wife at the time of death, he attained the body of a woman in his next birth. This verifies the following verse in Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajjate antikalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. When a living entity is accustomed to think of a particular subject matter or become absorbed in a certain type of thought, he will think of that subject at the time of death. At the time of death, one will think of the subject that has occupied his life while he was awake, lightly sleeping or dreaming, or while he was deeply sleeping. After falling from the association of the Supreme Lord, the living entity thus transmigrates from one bodily form to another according to nature's course, until he finally attains the human form. If he is absorbed in material thoughts and ignorant of his spiritual life, and if he does not take shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, who solves all questions of birth and death, he will become a woman in the next life, especially if he thinks of his wife. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 331.1, Karmana Daiva Netrena, a living entity acts piously and impiously, and sometimes in both ways. All actions are taken into account, and the living entity is offered a new body by his superiors. Although King Puranjana was overly attached to his wife, he nonetheless performed many pious spiritual activities. Consequently, although he took the form of a woman, he was given a chance to be the daughter of a powerful king, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6:41. Prapya punyakritam lokan ushitva sashvati samaha shuchinam shrimatam gehe yoga bhrashto vijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. If a person falls from the path of bhakti yoga, God realization, due to attachment to fruitive activity, philosophical speculation, or mystic yoga, he is given a chance to take birth in a high and rich family. The high authorities appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead thus render justice to the living entity according to the living entity's desires. Although King Puranjana was overly absorbed in thoughts of his wife and thus became a woman, he took birth in the family of a king due to his previous pious activities. The conclusion is that all our activities are taken into consideration before we are awarded another body. Narad Muni therefore advised Vyasadeva that one should take to Krishna consciousness, devotional service, and abandon all ordinary occupational duties. This advice was also given by Lord Krishna himself. Although a devotee may fall from the path of spiritual consciousness, he will nonetheless attain a human body in the home of a devotee or a rich man. In this way, one can resume his devotional service. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, from my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas, to my dear Gurudev, His Holiness Chandramauli Swami, to Srila Prabhupada, to the Guru Parampara, to the presiding deities, that by all of your blessings, I may be able to do justice to the service that Guru Maharaj has given me today because he's traveling. So such a beautiful verse that clearly drives home the point that we hear repeatedly, that whatever state of being one attains at the time of death is shaped by whatever state of being one is going through in life. And that state he will attain without fail, because remember, our consciousness is the cumulative effect of all the things we have been thinking, willing, feeling, desiring, loving, hating. It's a cumulative result, and that's the consciousness we are going to have at the time of death, and that's the state we are going to attain after the soul leaves this particular body. Now, this pattern is very interesting because King Puranjana, Srila Prabhupada, when starting to describe this particular pastime of King Puranjana, he says King Puranjana is every living entity. He says each and every living entity can be considered Puranjana because he is unaware of who he really is. He is unaware of his best friend, the Supreme Soul, until he receives the mercy of the pure devotee of the Lord. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. Until and unless he is blessed by the lotus feet of the pure devotee, his life is simply rotating in the cycle of birth and death, sometimes very high as Brahmaji and sometimes as an ant. He goes through millions of universes, planets, species of life, and again takes birth again and again, simply repeating the same cycle. But once he comes and receives the gift of transcendental knowledge, then his real enlightenment happens and his journey back home, back to Krishna begins. This is the beauty of Krishna consciousness, and this is the supreme, invaluable gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us. We call it matchless gift of understanding who we are and making our way back home out of this endless maze of repeated birth and death. So King Puranjana is described as a king who is only interested in running after his wife. A very graphic description is given. He's completely preoccupied with his wife, enjoying his wife, pleasing his wife, doing everything just like Prabhupada describes like a pet animal following its master. This is the way he's totally absorbed in his wife. And at the time of death, all he's thinking is, what will happen to my wife? What will happen to my kids? He's lamenting. And in this state of lamentation, he takes birth in the body of a woman. So this overly being attached to material things, material people, material objects is what brings us to the next state of consciousness and next state of body. Hence, it is so important to understand the value of devotional service. See, in this purport, if we go a little bit further down, Satyabhama, can you take us a little further down? When a living entity is accustomed to think of a particular subject matter, that means what we are used to thinking about, that becomes our focus. If all the time, let's say, I'm a materialist, let's just say, okay? and I am a stockbroker. So what is my thought all the time? Share market. Which stocks are going up? Which stocks are going down? What price? What is the price of the USD to INR? What is the Dow Jones doing? What is the NSE doing? What is the Indian stock market? All this I'm thinking of constantly. This is my meditation. Why? Because this is where my interest is. I'm making money. But I don't see the end coming in which I'm going to again take another body. All my thoughts are absorbed, completely absorbed in acquiring money, preserving the money I have, expanding the money into so many different more investments. And this is what preoccupies me all the time. So what do I do even in my recreation time? I look up different books. I look up different websites. I look to see how this stockbroker made $1 million on the stock market, how that stockbroker failed, and so I must avoid making those mistakes. So my whole preoccupation will be only stock market. I will only thinking of that. Similarly, say I'm a doctor. All the time, if I'm only thinking of my patients, medicine, surgery, whatever it is, I'm simply learning newer and newer techniques, how to do this surgery better, how to do this better, how to do. And yes, we have to improve in our professional life. But if that's all we are thinking about, I'm only looking at medical journals, I'm only thinking of medicine, I'm only thinking of surgery, I'm only thinking about work all the time. Guess what? I'll take birth again as a medical doctor or a nurse or a pharmacist or something related in that particular line. That's what is going to happen, of course, depending on how many pious activities I did or not. Because as this particular verse says, not only did he was preoccupied with his wife, but he did perform pious spiritual activities. So everything is taken into account and we are awarded the next body taking all those things into account. Nothing is one-sided. The complete picture is there. Everything is being recorded. Chitragupt, Yamaraj's cameraman, Hansin is taking pictures of everything. So nothing escapes the Lord's eyes. We may get away with it when it comes to the earthly level. I might pass a red light or I might steal something. Nobody has noticed. I might shoplift. I may get away with it. But Krishna is watching. Krishna's agents are watching. And they are noting down all the things that I'm doing. I may have illicit sex with the neighbor's wife. When he is not there, nobody else knows about it. But Krishna knows about it. I may be gambling. I may be taking the company's money and gambling away with it. Nobody knows about it. But Krishna knows about it. So every action is being completely noted and carefully jotted down in Yamaraj's notebooks or on his hard drive, now we can say. So, in such a situation, Krishna, understanding the living entity's tendencies, in his mercy, sends the spiritual master simply to disentangle us from this repeated chain of repeated birth and death, action and reaction, that has us tangled up tightly in its coils. Like a python, wraps itself around the prey and completely paralyzes it. We're completely caught up in all the things that we have done for millions of lifetimes. And there is no escaping the action, reaction until we come to Krishna consciousness. When we come to Krishna consciousness, gradually all those seeds of sinful activities disintegrate to never come back to haunt us. We will no longer feel inclined. Even if the chance is there to shoplift, we will say no. Everything belongs to Krishna, and I will take only what is my quota by rightfully, honestly paying for it. I don't want to take anything. In fact, devotee is frightened. Even if people try to give something now, we think 100 times before taking it because we don't know how it will entangle us. Isn't it? We know of the great devotees in the early days, Giriraj Maharaj and a few other extremely wealthy disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Their parents came and the father said, here's a blank check, Srila Prabhupada, give me back my son. You write as many $1 million as you want. And Giriraj Maharaj refused to go back. He said, no, I don't want to go back. So, once we understand the value of Krishna consciousness, we don't want to indulge in anything which will spoil our Krishna consciousness. Even if we get the chance to cheat, we will not want to cheat. Even if we get the chance to gamble, we will not want to gamble. Even if we get the chance to eat meat, drink wine, we will say, no, no, I don't want this horrible stuff. Yes, maybe I was used to doing that before, but now that I have understood that this animal is also a spirit soul, a precious child of Krishna, how can I allow first and foremost this cruelty to happen? And how can I then partake of that flesh, the decayed flesh, which is ultimately actually a form of poison? I don't want to put all this into my body because this cannot be offered to Krishna. Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo Me Bhaktya Prayachati. I will take what is offered to me with love and devotion. What? A leaf, a flower, a piece of fruit, or water. Krishna is not asking for non-vegetarian things. He is very clear what he wants. So we only eat what is offered to Krishna and what he leaves as his remnants for us. So devotee doesn't want to do anything even if given a chance. He doesn't want to mar his spiritual life. He doesn't want to commit any more sinful activities. But now look at the condition of poor Puranjana. He is completely absorbed in only sense gratification. And Srila Prabhupada says he's completely unaware of his best friend, the Supreme Soul who is sitting within. He's preoccupied with enjoying his palace with his wife. He's preoccupied with enjoying the gardens with his wife. He's preoccupied with enjoying meals with his wife, sleeping with his wife, having sex with his wife, going out with his wife, traveling with his wife, everything with his wife. So he's literally a plaything in her hands. And in the end, death comes because enemy king attacks, his kingdom is lost, he's losing his body, but at the time, he's only thinking of his wife and children. And so he takes birth again as a woman, in a woman's body. Now we have all gone through this, my dear spirit souls. We have sometimes been men, sometimes been women, sometimes men, sometimes women, sometimes men, sometimes women. We have done this many times. Many times. And if we are intent on going back to Krishna and not taking birth again, we must understand that yes, I have my wife or husband, I have my children, I have my parents, I have my neighbors, I have my colleagues, everyone, and I will treat them with respect, with affection, with care, but I will not be overly attached to the point of distraction of my main business in this human form of life, which is to become Krishna conscious. We will be very careful to nurture our Bhakti Lata Beach nicely and not make the same mistake that we have done for millions of lifetimes. Look at Maharaj Bharat. Maharaj Bharat. He came back in the body of a deer. He had reached actually a very high level of bhakti. He had given up his kingdom, his beautiful wife, children, wealth, treasury, army, palaces, everything, and taken to the forest to lead a life of renunciation. And he was on the level of bhav, very high level. But unfortunately, he literally fell in love with this little baby deer. And thereafter, he slowly gave up his spiritual practices and became completely besotted with that little deer. Wherever the deer went, he would anxiously look to see where it's gone. When it's coming back, he would feed it, he would sleep with it. It was almost like a romantic relationship. The description is so vivid that, it was almost like a husband and wife relationship that he had with that little deer. And in the end, when the deer was lost somewhere in the forest, he went after it and he gave up his life and he was thinking of the deer. So he came back in the body of a deer. But by Krishna's mercy, he never forgot the Sukriti of his previous lifetimes and his activities. So though he was in the body of a deer, he was always near sages, listening to Krishna Katha and so on. So in his next birth, he took the birth of a human as Jad Bharat. Now in this birth, he was supremely careful. He pretended to be a dumb, mad, crazy fellow. So that nobody would harass him, they would leave him alone so that he would carry out his bhakti and reach the perfection of life. He was extremely careful not to get entangled with the material energy in any way whatsoever, because he didn't want to take another birth. He didn't want to make that same mistake again. So, conclusion is what? One should take to Krishna consciousness. I may say, oh Mataji, I'm taking to Krishna consciousness, but I'm such a hopeless case. I don't know that in this lifetime I will reach perfection. So Krishna says, no problem. Even if you don't complete your Krishna consciousness, you don't reach perfection in one lifetime, you will still be able to take up where you left off. That means your pious credits, your devotional service activities, your level of Krishna conscious realization, that will never leave you. That is in your eternal bank account, and you will be able to resume from where you left off. On the other hand, the materialist has no gain whatsoever, because though he may have amassed a huge fortune. Just few days ago, we had Guru Maharaj talking about Alexander the Great, Attila the Hun, so many big, emperors and, conquerors and everything. They had to leave everything and go. Napoleon, Hitler, this one, that one, that's more in more recent times. Everything they had to leave and go, and in fact begin lower because of their sinful activities. One astrologer said that one of the big prime ministers of India was born as a dog in Sweden. Can you imagine that? Imagine coming back to a lower life form than a human being. This is the most horrible thing that can happen to a human being. But this most dangerous type of fear can be overcome by even a little of devotional service. And that is why devotees are so merciful and on such a war footing. They're trying to save the world through this Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because even if some person hears the name Krishna or says the name Krishna, even laughingly, jokingly, neglectfully, indifference, or making fun, there's no amount of sinful activities that he can commit that cannot be wiped out by one chanting of the holy name, just by saying once Krishna. So powerful is the name of God. And knowing this, devotees are freely distributing the holy name in the form of Harinam Sankirtan. They're inviting people to come to the temple and take part in the beautiful darshan. What is more beautiful than early morning, standing in front of the Lord and hearing Yamuna Devi's melodious devotional voice singing, Govindam Adipurusham Dhamma Bhajami. And the curtain opens slowly, and the beautiful form of Radha and Krishna, sometimes with gopis, or sometimes with Lord Chaitanya, or Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and God entire, depending on which temple, gorgeously decorated, profusely decorated with jewelry, garlands, flowers, and lovely, fragrance of incense, and devotees all, in ecstasy, jumping up and down and singing and dancing, and the pujari is offering, all the paraphernalia for worship of the Lord. Such a beautiful, transformational experience, so ecstatic. His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, the early morning Shringar Aarti Darshan is a festival for the eyes. It's a festival for the eyes. So, in Krishna consciousness, one reconnects with reality. One reconnects with all that is true and beautiful. Reconnects with all that is wonderful and precious and worth striving for, the kingdom of God. And as for this, Krishna consciousness, they are so strict, they don't drink tea, they don't drink coffee. Why? They meat eating, they don't even eat onion, garlic, they don't have any fun. We have all the fun. Who says there's no sense gratification? We have immense sense gratification of the best variety. We see the most beautiful thing. We hear the most beautiful thing. We taste the most wonderful food. We smell the most wonderful incense, camphor, sandalwood, all the wonderful flowers offered to the Lord, roses, lilies, champa, chameli, malati, malika, jasmine, all the beautiful flowers. And as for touching, we hug devotees right, left, center. You get all the love you want. So the best of all the things are there in Krishna consciousness. You don't miss out on anything. You don't lose anything. In fact, you're the supreme gainer. And we may say, okay, I couldn't complete my Krishna consciousness. So Krishna reassures, don't worry. You will take birth again, either in the family of transcendentalists, that means devotees, a nice Vaishnava family who are already deep in devotion, or you will be born in a very rich aristocratic family so that you don't have to worry about basic necessities. You can simply pick up your Krishna consciousness where you left off. But still, Srila Prabhupada said, finish up your business in this lifetime. You know, he said that very forcefully. One of the early lady disciples, I forget her name, she once came. Srila Prabhupada was on his, sitting at his writing desk, writing something. She said, Srila Prabhupada, what if I don't finish up in this lifetime? Will you come again? And he just stopped writing. He slapped the wooden desk in front of him with a really loud slap on the wooden desk, like that. And he said, finish up your business in this lifetime. Don't make me come again. And why not? Why should we not try for the best? Why should we try for anything less than the best? Why we should not regain our position in the eternal, wonderful kingdom of God, which is our home, which is where we were before we fell down to this material world. That is our home. That was our home. That will always be our home. This material world is simply a prison cell. We are sent here to complete our sentence. And the good prisoner gets out on parole, right? If you keep making more and more mistakes and more offenses, you get what? More and more punishments. What happens to the rebellious prisoner? Do you think he gets a break? No. He's hauled up again before the judge. And if he has a 5-year sentence, the judge says, now you add 2 more years to that sentence. He's more angry. He goes and fights with some more prisoner. Again, he's hauled in front of the judge saying, okay, you didn't understand yet? 10 years prison. So they just keep extending the punishment. Do we want a punishment to keep extending because we are foolish enough to make stupid mistakes again and again? Suddenly, we want to go back to Krishna. We don't want to take birth here where there's only diseases, old age, and death. Anybody likes death? Wants to die. Anybody likes to grow old? Nobody wants to grow old. Nobody wants to get diseases. We want to be eternally, blissfully happy. And we want perfect love. And that is available on the spiritual platform in perfect Krishna consciousness, because Krishna is the supreme lover. Nobody can love better than Krishna, and nobody is more lovable than Krishna. So why not reawaken a loving relationship with Krishna, live in peace and simplicity, straightforward, honest about where we are trying to make progress, in our own small, humble way, and praying and begging for the mercy of the Lord. We are beggars, actually. We are actually beggars. We're simply begging every moment for the mercy of the Lord. Please help me to remember you. Please help me to remember that I'm just your servant and I need to worship you, glorify you, serve you, love you faithfully, because then I can reawaken my loving relationship with you. So, I don't know what is the time. I don't know how much I've been talking. Let's just check. Okay, it's 6:02. So, this is what I wanted to share with you, that let's not make the same mistake that we have made in previous lifetimes. We have taken birth many times. Many times. And sometimes in low species of life also, because Srila Prabhupada said, your soul has gone through all the 8,400,000 species of life and has now attained the human form of life. Very rare opportunity to completely get out of the cycle of birth and death. This human form of life is this one loophole. We make it back to Krishna. No more coming back. And we get that through what? Chanting Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. stay high forever. No more coming down. The early devotees would say that, to draw people in, because in those days people were doing drugs, LSD, they wanted to be high. They said, we have got the best high, come on over here. You'll get intoxicated. You'll get intoxicated with the Mahamantra. You'll get intoxicated with the yummy, wonderful prasada. You'll get intoxicated by the wonderful incense and all the flowers. It's such a heady experience. You walk into the temple and there's all this wonderful incense and camphor and sandalwood and all these wonderful smells. It's just enough to drive you, drunk with ecstasy sometimes, isn't it? We feel so happy when we walk into the temple, so joyful, so blissful. So you have the most wonderful gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us, this matchless gift of Krishna consciousness that has mercifully been given to us by our Gurudev, His Holiness Chandramauli Swami, who has come to save us. But for our Gurudev, what would we know of Prabhupada, of Krishna, of Radha, of Lord Chaitanya, of Pachitatva, of Lord Nrsimhadev? We would know nothing. So all our good fortune is by Srila Gurudev's lotus feet. The dust of his lotus feet is our foodstuff. We are wanting only to please Gurudev, because Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasado Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutopi Dhyan Stuvam Stasya Yashastri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charana Ravindam. Only by pleasing the spiritual master is the Supreme Lord pleased. And by not pleasing the spiritual master, there's no way we can please the Lord. Because the Guru is actually mercy manifestation of the Lord himself, Lord Nityananda. Sometimes Radharani is also considered as, coming in the form of Gurudev. Lord Nityananda, who is Balaram, is also spiritual master. He sends his representative to save us. So we are so fortunate. We have His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Pure bona fide devotee of the Lord, who's strictly following the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who's doing everything he can to save us. We are so blessed. We are so lucky. Unfortunately, I must honestly confess that I'm not the best of disciples when it comes to following his instructions. I must try to do better. And I always say that every day to myself. But I'm not getting any better. I just have to pray more. And I have to humbly beg everyone's blessings so that I can do a little better for Gurudev and try to make my life more Krishna conscious. I remember once asking Guru Maharaj, what will really please you? And Guru Maharaj said, become Krishna conscious. So, okay. Understand. But am I following? Not really. I have to really become serious and sincere and determined. My determination is weak. That's the problem. When our determination is weak, we are very easily distracted and we struggle with every little thing we have to do. So I really humbly request all of you to please pray for me. Please give me your blessing so that I can become fixed up in service to Guru and Krishna. Okay, so thank you all very much for listening patiently. We will open up for questions, comments.
Jai, thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Such a powerful class. And you took us the journey of degradation of, Puranjana. Is absorbing in his wife, and then examples of Bharat Maharaj and Hitler as well. And then you took us to dirty greetings. So it was very nice class. And what you said about Srila Prabhupada, so that finish up our business in this lifetime, that is really important. Very, very important. And this is so true what Puranjana has done. And I can see in our own life, not with the husband, but maybe with the child. We are busy all the time with the, with our attachment and family, parents and everything around us, basically in the house, job, everything. So we are definitely what you've described, but definitely we have to come to the platform where we remove this attachment and come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. So thank you so much, Mataji. Devotees, if you have any question, comments, realizations, please open up, say something. I already have actually a question from Supriya Mataji, so I'll read it while devotees are thinking about it. So Mataji is saying, Hare Krishna Mataji, is this valid when someone undergoes severe abuse, when someone goes through abuse, she ruminates constantly about abuser or abuse he has gone through. What would happen to him when he dies in those thoughts? What about his next birth? And then there is another next question from same Mataji. They should have to have ashram for women. We can't enjoy such temple experience at home no matter what. So there are a number of questions Mataji has raised about the abuse and the next birth for them, and the ashram for the woman, and also the temple experience.
Okay, let's go one by one.
Yeah.
See, if we are constantly thinking about abuser or whoever tormented us or whatever it is, it could be in a situation where a girl is tormented by a stalker or somebody who harassed her, or it could be a daughter-in-law, in-laws situation where the daughter-in-law is constantly being harassed by the in-laws and she ultimately dies for whatever reason. She's only thinking of mother-in-law, father-in-law. Or some other situation, say a boss is harassing, a junior, and he's constantly thinking of his boss, and then he meets with an accident, he dies. Whatever thoughts are there at the time of death, that will define the next situation. That will dictate the next body one has to take. So if I'm constantly thinking of my abuser, guess what? I will take the body of that abuser, whether it was a mother-in-law or a father-in-law or a rapist or a criminal or whoever it is, male or female, depending, who was my abuser. If I'm constantly thinking of my abuser, I'm very likely, unless there's some divine intervention, I'm going to be taking the body of that person. That gender. So we have to do our level best to overcome these things so that they are not constantly in our head and we are thinking of them more than Krishna. Sometimes in husband-wife problem, the wife is constantly, thinking, my husband not doing this, my husband not doing, my husband not making a mess, husband. She takes birth and now as a male. And then he's constantly thinking, she's not doing, she's not. So they are continuing the cycle. Now, this time the husband is the wife and the wife is the husband. The same pair comes back and they continue the cycle. Then in this lifetime, they're fighting. And again, so like this, we have done this so many lifetimes. We have done all this nonsense. We have to think to ourselves, my gosh, do I want to come again and again like this? No. So we must try to get help. We must get therapy. We must get healing. We must be able to overcome the trauma so that we are able to focus nicely on Krishna. Yes, we should have ashrams for women. There are ashrams. There are brahmacharini ashrams in many temples of the world where Mataji's ashrams, where ladies are practicing Krishna consciousness. And even if you live at home, there's no problem. You can go travel to the temple in the morning and get the temple experience and then go back home. It doesn't mean everyone has to move into a temple. So many people come on their way to work. They go to Darshanarthi, they attend Darshanarthi, and then they carry on like that. So you can have both, Supriya. You can be home and go to temple also.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Sridevi Mataji and Supriya Mataji. I hope that answers your question. Otherwise, you can cross question in the chat, please. Thank you. She's saying thank you, Mataji. Any other question, comments, devotees? Yes, Raj Prabhu, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. All glories to you, Mataji, and all of the devotees.
Thank you, dear Raj Prabhu. Please accept mine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our Gurudev. All glories to the wonderful devotees.
Thank you for your class and reminding us how important it is that we have to engage more in devotional service and chant more and think more about Krishna and become less attached to the material. So if we want to become more and more attached to Krishna and less attached to the material, is there a way that we can measure where we are and then strive for improvement?
Well, you can test yourself. Srila Prabhupada said, if you're envious, you're still in the material world. If you're non-envious, you're in the spiritual world. Janakinath was like that. He was not envious completely. Srila Prabhupada said, this is the test. You think you're in the spiritual world? Check out. Are you envious? Then you're still in the material world. If you're not envious, You're in the spiritual world. Of course, that is just a very high level. I'm bringing that out to remind us of Janaki Nath. That's why I said that. But yes, there is a system of checking where we are. We can see for ourselves where, in the beginning, we are just simple sadhakas. Maybe we're just chanting 5 rounds. Slowly we improve. We come to 6 rounds, 7 rounds, 8 rounds, 9 rounds. There are different stages in our devotional life. Sadhu Sangha, Adau Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya means initiation. That is stage 3. When one becomes very convinced by the association of devotees, one has developed strong faith. Shraddha has developed. And yes, this is the process that I want to adopt. This is the life I want to live as a devotee, and I want guidance and shelter of a bona fide guru. Then we take initiation, and that is stage 3, Bhajana Kriya. Stage 4 is Nishtha. Under the guidance of the Guru and his specific instruction, we work on all the anarthas which prevent us from being steady in our devotional service. That is called Nishtha. And that stage is attained when 75% of our anarthas are gone. Then we become very steady in our service, in our sadhana. No matter what is going on, I will not give up my 16 round. No matter what is going on, I will not give up my seva to Guru. That's a very exalted stage. It's not so easy to attain that stage. That's stage 4. Stage 4 is Anartha Nivritti, which means the clearing up stage. Stage 5 is Nishtha, when we become fixed. Nishtha, then Ruchi, we start getting a sweet taste for devotional service. Ashakti, one cannot not think of Krishna, one is constantly thinking of Krishna. Bhava is being more and more absorbed in Krishna. Prema is the final stage, when one is fully in love with Krishna, nothing but Krishna. It's Krishna, 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 Krishna all the way. That's fully, very elevated stage called Krishna Prema. So yeah, we can check where we are. Most of us Anartha Nivritti, those of us who have got, even those who are not initiated are in Anartha Nivritti, those who are initiated are also in Anartha Nivritti, because we are still struggling. We're still struggling to get fixed in our Krishna consciousness. So we can say that most of us are at Anartha Nivritti.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Bol Mataji. Wonderful session today. Because my mobile is with me, I tend to join your sessions as and when I see, even though it is at a very short announcement, but I really enjoyed it. Now, my question is, I do my rounds. I was doing 16 or 20 before, but then my ill health, and then I'm getting back to 16 a day, sometimes spread up to about 6 p.m. in the evening. I do attend some Srimad Bhagavatam classes, do attend other classes, but so reading is something that I think I'm a bit short of, and I live quite far from the temple, so my service component is not there. But all this that I'm doing, and I have firm belief in Krishna. Krishna is everything, is absolute, is there. I don't have much of a material attachment, though I own a house and the property and the family. But as you say, attachment is less. So where would that land me? I know I've got quite a progress to make too, but this is all that I'm doing at the moment, Mataji.
Well, Krishna knows your heart. Krishna knows how much you want him. Krishna knows your challenges of ill health and, difficulty being far out from temple and all. As long as you're sincerely praying to Krishna to please help me become Krishna conscious, please help me to improve my sadhana, please help me to get more attached to you, Krishna reciprocates. Krishna reciprocates with his devotee. So who's to say? You might go straight to the spiritual world, who knows? But generally speaking, it is advisable to take initiation. It is advisable because the Guru helps you to enter the spiritual world. His mercy helps you to reach Krishna. So I would encourage you to, continue your 16 rounds and sincerely seek the mercy of a bona fide Guru in our movement, so that you can get connected to the Guru Parampara and attain the highest goal.
Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All the best to you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mataji.
Thanks, Mataji. Supriya Mataji, you had your hands up. Do you want to ask something? Maybe not. I think she has put a very nice comment, Supriya Mataji, for you, Sridevi Mataji. I'll read it for everyone.
No, she was speaking, but she was on mute. That's
Oh,
why
but you
couldn't-
on mute. Okay.
Okay,
Mataji, you want to
sorry.
ask something? Go on.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that what my current question is little different than the topic we are covering today. Okay. Now, yesterday we saw one message. Okay, that some Guruji had a serious health condition. So I had this question: if that is the case, is this we can consider as the reaction for his karma, right? Now, one said that it is because of the prarabdha karma, okay, which is the prarabdha karma is the karma with which we are born. Now, I was wondering when we are doing this Krishna consciousness, he might have been born with the prarabdha karma, but doesn't that get eliminated slowly over the time when we are doing a serious chanting and when we surrender to the Lord? Then Lord says that I will take all your papas, right? You just surrender to me. So what papa he was talking about? He should have taken all these papas with him, right? I mean, the person might be born with those prarabdha karma, which are yet to be fructified, and those will get fructified in the due time, right? But when person is chanting so seriously, say for 40 years or 50 years, and still he is facing such serious health issues down the line, then how Krishna is taking care of those papas when he has surrendered himself fully to Krishna?
Well, we don't know these things. We don't know what is the reason, because many times Guru suffers because of the sinful actions of his disciples. So many people say Jayapadaka Maharaj's health condition, he suffered a very, very severe stroke, and he was left almost paralyzed. And, he made a very remarkable, miraculous recovery, because nobody can, practically he was hemorrhaging in the brain. And after such a severe hemorrhage, nobody lives. But Krishna asked him, and Maharaj said, no, I have to stay because I have to complete Prabhupada's mission of TOVP. I have promised him to complete this project. So I have to stay. So Krishna said, all right. And gave him. So we cannot understand the pure devotee and his relationship with Krishna. We cannot understand why they are suffering, from a particular disease or ill health or whatever it is, because we are repeatedly reminded that the body of the spiritual master is not material. It's transcendental. And why they are going through, ill health and everything, it's just mental speculation ultimately on our part, why they're suffering, why this has happened. And really speaking, we should not speculate on these things. We should not worry, oh, what sinful acts he did, and now he's got through. Let us worry about our own sinful acts and getting better in our Krishna consciousness, rather than worrying about the spiritual master's ill health and why he's suffering from ill health. Actually, when the spiritual master suffers from ill health, it's an opportunity for his disciples to serve him and become even closer to him and his instructions. So sometimes spiritual master will have an illness so that devotees can get closer, disciples can get closer to him in that way. And many times spiritual master will also leave his body, because that is one way of weeding out insincere disciples. Because the insincere ones will just fall away, while the sincere ones will continue to remain strong in their faith and devotion to him and his instructions.
Mataji,
I don't know
I
if I
just
answered your question. Maybe I haven't completely understood your question. And if I've understood, maybe I've not completely answered it. So please clarify.
Mataji, I just have this, see, law of karma is very strict. and it is it justifies every action for everyone. Like even if I have taken say shelter of some spiritual master, and tomorrow I decide to go for intoxication, okay, so that okay, anyway now I have taken a shelter of spiritual master, whatever my karma, it will go to my spiritual master and he will suffer, I don't have to suffer, right? Some devotee might go and take a shelter like that, but I don't think that's how the law of karma works. Law of karma, just like there are different witnesses like God, Paramatma, whose sun and moon, five bhutas, all these are witnesses. So they will definitely not allow that kind of activity to happen, right? First thing is this, that we should not say that just because a disciple is doing some wrong activity, that karma, a spiritual master will suffer with that karma. That definitely Lord will not allow.
It is not that the spiritual master will only suffer, we will also suffer. We will
Yeah, but-
also suffer the reaction. But the spiritual master also suffers because of the.
Yeah, but duty of spiritual master is not to take your karma. The duty of spiritual master is to guide you on the spiritual path, and he is just a mean to connect you to the Krishna. He never said that I will take your karma. He is just saying that I will connect you to the Guru Parampara. Right?
Yes.
So nowhere he said, Guru Maharaj says that, okay, I'm responsible for your karma. So first of all, let us clear that from our mind that whatever we are doing wrong, that karma Guru Maharaj will get it. That's definitely against the law of karma. Okay, first thing first. Second thing is that, so yes, it is because of someone's prarabdha karma, but then the next question comes when in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Mam Emam Sharanam Pracha, something like that, right? That
Mam Evam Sarvadharman
Parityaja Mam Evam
Sharanam Tvam Sarvam Papebhyo Moksheshami Ma Suchaha.
So now my question was like, okay, if he guarantees that you take my Sharanagati, I will give you all moksha and all, I will take all your papa. What kind of papa he was talking about when the person like a Guru Maharaj, he has done so much of severe tapasya in his life for such a long period, and still he undergoes such severe bodily reactions in the health, in terms of the health effects or something, health issues. Okay, this is another thing. And third is, if his body is really transcendental and not the material, then he should not have gone through such a severe issues. For example, Buddha, he was 80 years old when he died, but he was still young. He was looking young, and he was in a perfect health issue, health situation. So he was not suffering any health diseases. Okay, now that doesn't mean his body was a transcendental. He was a very much a very elevated spiritual person. That doesn't mean his body was a transcendental. As long as we are on this planet, our body will still be a material. When we liberate, our mind liberates. Our body doesn't liberate. Our body doesn't transform from this material body to a transcendental body.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Supriya Mataji, please. So I think that it's a very long question. Let's just hear from Sridevi Mataji, because we have only some time left. So I'm sorry to stop you here and interrupt you. Sridevi Mataji, would you like to answer the question? And maybe, yeah.
Well, I could answer the question, but I don't think that will satisfy Supriya. I think it is best handled by Guru Maharaj himself, who will give you a very clear conception, because with my limited understanding and my limited power to convey that understanding, I don't think it will satisfy your heart.
If you don't mind, I would like to share one PPT with you. Okay, this is from the
maybe because the one hosting the session. So we will ask Satyabhama Mataji about that.
So Supriya Mataji, what you can do, you can share whatever you want to share with Sridevi Mataji separately, and not in this group. As in, we don't actually share things like that in the group, and it will be lost anyway in the Zoom. We do not save any information on Zoom. So that'd be best if you share it with Mataji. If you want any further question, otherwise please do join the call every day, and Guru Maharaj will be joining tomorrow, hopefully, or day after. So he will be able to answer your questions if Sridevi Mataji is suggesting that. Is that okay, Mataji? Is that okay, Supriya Mataji?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. But this is
So either
actually
you can, if
question.
you're in the Zoom, in your God family group or in our announcement group, you can share the presentation with me and I will be able to share it with Sridevi Mataji. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, we can do that. Maybe you can drop your mobile number in the chat here and I can take it from here. If that's okay. Yeah, I'll contact you and then share the presentation with the team, with Mataji
Sure.
especially. And I'm so sorry because we have only 1 minute left. Is there any last minute questions? Otherwise, we can close the call. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Supriya Mataji. Perfect. Thank you. So I'll take that number. By the time I'm just taking the number, and because as soon as I close the session, it will be gone.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, sometimes, it's best to hear from the Gurudev because Guru Maharaj will immediately dispel all the clouds of confusion, ignorance, misunderstanding, half-baked ideas. We have so many things swirling in our heads, So therefore, I would like Supriya to have the satisfaction of hearing from Guru Maharaj so that all her doubts are dispelled.
And mainly question is around the spiritual master only. So it is best it's been answered by Maharaj himself, because he has the experience of what Supriya is asking. So it'll be better answered by Maharaj, hopefully. So thank you so much, Sridevi Mataji. Once again, you're such a, Supriya has made such a nice comment about your class as well previously, that and it'll be nice if I read that comment. Mataji, your lectures are to the point and you cover topic well and in least time. That's wonderful. So that's from Supriya Mataji.
Thank you for encouraging me. Actually, I have a very long way to go, to be honest with you. I'm not so knowledgeable or scholarly or erudite. If you hear other devotee speakers, you will see, now you are kindly allowing me to speak, but there are many, many, many very wonderful, much 100 times better speakers in our Krishna consciousness, to be honest.
Mataji,
You're very humble.
No, Mataji, you have a misconception that someone talks lengthy means they have more knowledge. That's not the thing. When someone talks to the point, they are more knowledgeable because they can explain to the point.
Thank you. Thank you, Sridevi Mataji.